the healthcare workers. It's the little things, during this time, just to kind of have a smile, forget for a moment what's going on, and just kind of remember some good times and bring some joy to people.
We just felt, through this pandemic and through this crisis, what a better way to give back to the community and just show support, to appreciate the hospital, the nurses, the doctors, and the staff that have given so much to our community.
Oh my gosh, it was just amazing, so heartfelt. I wasn't expecting to get so emotional, but when all the people were driving by, I just started crying, and I was just I couldn't help it, overwhelmed of the gratitude.
It's hard to not get teary-eyed just to see the thanks for, the hospital workers and everything that they're doing, to see the people that came out today to give their thanks. It was really heartwarming.
Hi there, thank you so much.
I could not think of a better tradition, Texas tradition, than, to give back to a community in Texas than, the Texas standard. There's nothing better than, traditional Fletcher's Corny dogs.
Thank you for coming.
We were sponsored to come out here, and so this product is being donated to the hospital staff today to say thank you to our local heroes.
Just knowing that people out there appreciate you and just showing their love and support, and it just means the world to us, yes.
This past week, Ismael Marquez finally got the ride his family had been praying for. The 33-year-old had spent nearly 3 weeks in Medical City, North Hills. Out of Ismael's 18 days in the hospital, 13 of those were on a ventilator. As his wife waited outside, staff celebrated. It was a doubly happy occasion. Not only was Marquez able to return to his home in Haltom City, he was able to do so on his mother's birthday. As scientists and researchers scramble for weapons in the fight against COVID-19, one of the most important tools thus far has been the ventilator. But like many advances in science and technology, its development was almost an accident. You have to go back to 1921. That was the year Forrest Byrd was born. Byrd's father had been a pilot in World War I, so the son grew up with a profound love of flying. A licensed pilot by the age of 14, Byrd once even met Orville Wright of the famed Wright brothers. By the time World War II broke out, Byrd could fly almost anything with wings. So when he enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps, Byrd's superiors made him an instructor. Byrd's advanced skills were so prodigious and the need for versatile pilots so great that he was often called upon to fly captured enemy aircraft back to the U.S. so they could be studied. Early on, one of those planes happened to be a German bomber. The airplane featured an oxygen supply system that allowed crews to fly up to an altitude of 28,000 feet. Certain he could do better, Byrd improvised a contraption combining a pressure gauge and 3 standard-issue military ration shortcake tins. The prototype was adopted by the U.S. Army Air Corps, and soon Allied pilots were flying up to 35,000 feet, well out of the range of enemy anti-aircraft guns and fighter planes. Byrd also developed what became aviation's first G-suit, used to keep pilots from blacking out under extreme gravitational forces. The Army then sent him to medical school, where Byrd became fascinated by the human respiratory system. He soon realized his ideas had other uses, especially when a friend's father developed emphysema. In 1947, Byrd went to the hardware store for a doorknob that could be manually pressed to inflate the lungs whenever a patient needed air. The device saved the life of his friend's father and became the world's first positive pressure ventilator. It was also the age of polio, a dreaded disease for which there would be no vaccine for several more years. Because polio affected so many children, it was often called infant paralysis, leaving many victims unable to breathe on their own. The only mechanical solution was a horrific device called the iron lung, which used sealed containers and negative pressure to forcibly draw air into the lungs. During the worst polio outbreaks of the 50s, there were entire wards filled with them, but their size made them hard to move or use. What Byrd had developed was small and lightweight. It was called the Byrd Mark VII, the first portable, reliable, mass-produced mechanical ventilator, a machine familiar to any parent who has ever had to take an asthmatic child to the emergency room. Byrd continued his research, improving his designs with every step. His baby Byrd, developed for the smallest lungs of all, dropped infant mortality rates by 80%. The Mark VII and its derivatives became some of the most widely used ventilators in the world. and thousands of the originals are still in use today. One of the greatest medical inventions of all time, and it all started with 3 shortcake tins and a doorknob. Who knows what the next way to save lives will be, or from where it will come. Coming up next, a children's book to help kids cope, and a salute to the graduating seniors in the class of 2020, when more life continues.